put some of the wood on the fire, and some you carved out into a whatever you wanted to make it, and you prayed to that idol, and you believed it, and you say, well, it would never happen to me. Well, listen, if you were in that atmosphere, in an environment where everybody believed in it, and you saw some results, and you said, yeah, I believe in it, but after a while, it's all the evil inclination. They say, oh, we don't need, that's silly. We'll go to astrology. Look at the stars, the patterns of the stars. And then after a while, said, oh, let's go to mythology, where we made stories about the stars and all kind of things that really were mythologies. And Socrates tried to wean the people away from these fictional characters that they made into a belief. These fictional characters of mythology became a belief, and they killed Socrates because of what he believed in. That he tried to dissuade the people from following these crazy things, and there's still people left today that follow that mythology and put it on a divine level. And some people in those days worship water, even though fire could quench it out, a fire could evaporate it, and some people worship water because it's a life substance. But water could have put out the fire, but they still believed in water. You have throughout the ages, they want to reinvent the wheel. The Sadducees, the Hellenizers, the Romanizers, the Karaites, the followers of Reform, Enlightenment, followers of Enlightenment, followers of atheism, followers of you name it. There's all the Christianity has over 200 different denominations. There are no denominations in Judaism. They want to tell themselves that, well, you know, make it easier. It's too hard for us to keep the Sabbath, and so let's make a denomination and have a Rabbi Judy. And you say, well, she said it's okay, or she's a rabbi. Yeah, she got a degree in ignorance, and with that degree, she's making herself and her congregation ignorant. Okay, so we're back to the book of Exodus, right? Get the book. You got to get the Bible. You got to have a Bible. You got to spend time. You got to not go to the lectures. Well, today's 12:25, right? So where are the people that those that are not watching whatever are trying to listen to some a teacher, rabbi who is very learned and knowledgeable, and I'm sure giving over a good good sermon or intelligent teachings, but if you don't do it yourself, if you can't be a catcher, and the pitcher's always throwing, he's thinking of what the ball's, how he's going to throw the ball. Curveball, slider, inside, outside, right, change up. He's throwing the pitch. You're just catching it, and that's what we are today, catchers. We can't be catchers. We have to be the pitchers too. Everybody has the ability to be a pitcher. And that's why I implore on you. Get my book. Get any book. Get a book you have around the house. But make it good so that you don't waste your time. So look, I have a lot of pictures here I want to show you. I have a lot of pictures here. So we're in the book of Exodus, right? And all the miracles that happened, and all the manna that came from heaven, and the water from the rock, and Moses learned with them for 40 years. 40 years in the desert. That was the yeshiva in the desert, and we still carry on. We still carry on that tradition of Masorah, handing down the teachings from Sinai to present day, 21st century. We still have that teaching. And that's what we want to perpetuate. Oh, we're not going out of existence, that's for sure. I mean, look, you have to give the Haredi woman, they live in, since 1944, after the World War II, they came to America, and it was a handful of survivors, and they built beautiful communities, and the women especially, 9, 10 children, the mean, 10 children for the mean family. And we'll lose a few of those. And the modern young Israel Orthodox, I'm only talking about the Orthodox, the Reform, the Conservative, they're cultural movements. They're nothing to do with Judaism. Only on a cultural plane. So what do we have over here? So yeah, the Haredis, they're having 10, 11 children all the time. And they got so successful that they broke out of their bounds. It's like, there's no more room left. So like for instance in Lakewood, they went to the Jackson and Toms River and Westchester County. They moved to other areas of Westchester County, Chester, New York, and some of these places. And it's like the Egyptians, look, they became full. They're full of them. They became full. The Jews began to increase, so many. And we have to be afraid. I mean, Chester passed a law saying that we're going to buy the buildings there because we can't let the Haredi take over. I mean, is that an anti-Semitism? Is that biased doings? Oh, they're afraid. What? Why? Because, listen, why does Bauer shoot up the community of Pittsburgh? I mean, where does he come to? It has no record of anti-Semitism, anti-Judaism. He has no record of that. And he comes in with a gun and kills 11, 12 people. 11, 12 people. Well, listen, that's because we're going away. And that's why anti-Semitism is on the rise in the Western world, right? Anti-Semitism is on the rise. Different statistics show here. And this is in New York City. The Jews control the world. A lot of people believe it. I mean, how do they control the world? Why are the Jews so prominent in the government? That's because they're probably more intelligent than the rest of them. But the point is, they should be using those intelligence and those dispersions to speak about the oneness and uniqueness of God. And many of them are not observant. Probably most of them are not observant. So back to Exodus. What happened? Exodus, they coming out to 40 years of learning Torah, of building the Mishkan, the portable temple. Make for me a Mishkan, so that I will dwell with you. Make for me a Mishkan, and all the appurtenances, all the furniture that went into the tabernacle, the portable temple, all the people, the teachings that they had to understand, and Moses didn't know them completely, so he went up on Mount Sinai and he communed with God. Moses, our teacher, and he communed with God. Look at, write these down. In Exodus 25:40, 26:30, 27:9. All these instances, Moses went up and spoke to God to know exactly how the specifications should be made. How they should be made. but we went away. We went far away from Torah. I mean, you know, how did the Jews get enslaved? They became full and many. They filled the land, and Joseph led them into Goshen, part of Egypt. So now they spilled over into the other suburbs of the capital of Egypt. Egypt is okay. So they spilled over to other suburbs, and they became assimilated into materialism, into success, into fancy Delancey. All that stuff wasn't good, and that's why they went into slavery, right? That's why they went into slavery. Thank God today we're not going to have that problem with the Haredis and with the observant, and they call for new elections, right? We don't get tangential, but where, you know, this is I'm an American, right? And you would think that the media would follow and unite the people into following the President of the United States. And it's just the opposite. Character assassination. And they're looking for the next election so that the next president or will be a Democrat. And don't even talk about the accomplishments of Trump, lowering the gas prices, unemployment way down, national GNP up. Everything is positive, and the opposition, the media, has nothing but disdain and hatred toward the President of the United States. They would never do such a thing for Clinton and adultering himself in the Oval Office with Monica, or with Kennedy and Chappaqua and all the look like murder that happened over there. No, but here Trump, who's doing such a great job, he has nothing. It's a character assassination. Mueller, I mean, what's his name? Mueller, the investigation. Oh, for months they've been picnicking to find something that he did collusion with the Russians. All they had to do is check the returns from the different states. I mean, you know, the FBI said there's no collusion. They're still picking on it. They're beating a dead horse. What they should be investigating is the collusion that the Democrats have with the media. That's what they should be investigating. Okay, I don't want to get into politics, American politics, but let's go into the importance of observing and living by the Torah. So what happened? Moses taught how the Mishkan, the portable tabernacle, should be built, and it was placed in the center of the 12 tribes who were in the desert. And they appointed artisans who would oversee the construction, and it went on and on about how the appurtenances, the furniture, and everything was detailed. And then, this is chapter 31. The whole chapter talks about that. And then, all of a sudden, at 31:13 and to 31:17, it says Shabbos. And then 31:18 says God gave the tablets to Moses. Again, right? Exodus, all about the tabernacle, the holy tabernacle that should be built according to specification. Interruption at the end of that, 5 sentences on Shabbos. Right? Shabbos is a keystone to everything to a Jew's life. It says over there, 31:13, that it is a sign between me, God is speaking, it is a sign between me and the Jewish people that on that day you shall be holy. It is a sign between me and the Jewish people forever, that on that day you should be holy. To understand and try to live according to the teachings that we have been given in the Torah. The teachings that have been given us in the Torah. That's that day. And then 31:17, what does that say over there? 31:17 says the same sentence more or less. It says, it is a sign, God is speaking, it is a sign between me and the Jewish people that on 6 days I created the heavens and the earth, and on the 7th day I ceased and was refreshed. Shovas v'yenofash. I ceased and was refreshed. God doesn't need to be refreshed, right? But that is something that we have to emulate. The Jewish people have to emulate to cease malacha, cease work according to the definition of work that the Torah lays out. And that is the 39 different types of work that was needed to build the portable temple. That day we had to cease from that. By ceasing, we are creating a portable temple in ourselves. Every Jew is creating a portable temple within himself. And that's so important. God ceased and he was refreshed. We had to emulate that. Cease from doing malacha and become refreshed for the next week to do your work and also to be an example for the rest of humanity. I mean, I showed you pictures of Madagascar, of Jews all over the world. In India, there's many Jews that have come and made aliyah to Israel. And so that's the sole significance. The foundation of the Jewish people is here's a recent plane load of Jewish people from America who enlisted in the army and trained in the army and at the same time making aliyah. So that's what happened. But we see that anti-Semitism rears its head when we are lax in our commitment to Torah. And that's why it's so important to stay attuned. I mean, you know, we're born with certain aptitudes, right? And those people that have an aptitude for spirituality, you know, they're blessed. They have it easier, so to speak, because they can understand things better. I mean, certain people come to Judaism because they know there's a God, they know there's a God of the Jews, and they know God speaks to them, and fine. And they become observant, and they take the steps, and don't spend the great amount of time of looking at the greater picture as opposed to just looking and saying, I know there's a God, but embellish that and look at the unifying factors that it creates in us, or realize that this world is a time we can have pleasure through learning Torah and living that lifestyle. I mean, I have a cousin that somehow she's an attorney, and this is a cousin's wife from Wilmington, Delaware, right? And they made Aliyah several years ago. She's some kind of a swimming instructor, whatever, amongst other things that she does, and she's coming back. So I mean, she found it. Why? How? But I have another cousin that's learning in the Kollel in Cleveland who has children one every year. God bless her. And everything is taken from. Everything is geared to living a lifestyle of Torah, and unfortunately, we went away, and we went far away, and prior to World War II, the forces of evil overtook us in like a forest fire. It wipes out everything, the good and the bad. And that's what happened. We were going away from Torah into the communism, socialism, and atheism. So God sent the forest fire and killed them all. Here's a picture of those righteous people, the remnants of the Warsaw Ghetto, after the Germans came in and killed, firebombed the entire city. Thousands were killed, and those that remained without any guns, ammunition, were rounded up and executed. And here are the children of the ghetto. Here are the children of the ghetto. Look, like one nondescript group. Sad, sad. But today God is giving us back the land. He's giving us back the land. And even though they want to make some kind of a deal where they're going to have this piece of land given to the Arabs, and this piece is given to what have you. This has been God given. This has been God given, and we can't let those things happen because God will make sure. We say, well, you know, look, anti-Semitism and Columbia University, the bastion of free speech. Here, the swastika is on the door leading into the Jewish professor's classroom. Right, Columbia University. And what do the Jews do? They don't want to hurt the terrorists. They're murderers. We're gonna raise their houses. We're gonna take their buildings apart and put them in jail for life. Here they killed this couple's baby just a month ago. Murderers. What do they get out of it? Tell me. What kind of penalty? What is it? What kind of judgment is that? And that's why we have to elect and vote for a Jewish party that want to run the land according to the Torah. That's what we need to do. And just to remind you that we should never forget. And how can we remember them? This is the German headquarters in Auschwitz, right? And these are the Totenkopf groups, or murderers that oversee the murderous actions, torturous actions. Here, the women lined up before they're worked to death or tortured. Here, the atrocities are unreal. And what do? We forget about it. We can't forget. We must remember that. We must remember that this happened to our people, and it was for a reason that it happened. We were lax. We have to do better in our commitment in our making this world a better place, and that's why we urge everyone to start your journey back, or if you have completed your journey, to make sure that it's strong, and take upon yourself the attitude that we're going to learn more, so that by learning we will do. You know, we have a Tanakh which has books of other books of the Bible, and we have kings specifically, and we have the prophets who administered and gave advice, like sort of like an attorney general of how he should act within the law. Hizkiyahu was a righteous king, a very righteous king, and Isaiah started his prophecy with the king of Amaziah, then came Azariah, and then came, after Azariah came Nadav, Yoav. I'm going to forget that one in a minute. After Azariah came Yoav, and then came Achaz, and then came Hizkiyahu, and then came Menashe and Ammon, who assassinated Isaiah. But Isaiah ministered to all these people, and one incident happened where Jerusalem was laid in siege, and the Syrians who are now being paid back, because all of those will be paid back by God, either here or in the soul world. But the leaders, one of the spokesmen for the Assyrians, the general, was Sancherib, and his name, the spokesman, was Rav Shaka, and he was a turncoat. He was a Jew. He's a mumar. He left Judaism and became working for Sancherib, the king, who surrounded the area and wanted to annihilate the people if they didn't surrender. And Hizkiyahu was at the wall, and Rav Shaka, the Jew, the mummer that changed, became a spokesman for Sancherib, said, you'll live in peace if you surrender, and we'll take you to a different land, as they did to Samaritans. By the way, the Samaritans are not good people, even though in their Bible they write about how good they were, but they were evil people. They kept talking about how the Jews want to revolt against Alexander the Great, and Alexander came and he made peace with Shimon HaTzadik, the head of the temple. But again, Hizkiyahu, they were starving to death, and Hizkiyahu said, what should we do, to Isaiah the prophet? And Isaiah said, by this time tomorrow everything will be good, because he will return to his people. And sure enough, they left that area, they lifted the siege, and he returned. They went away, and the king's Sancherib was killed by his sons back in his home in Assyria. And that is one siege. And then there's another siege, what happened in the kingdom of Judah, right? Also in the Tanakh. And the kingdom of Judah, who was Jehoram was the king. Jehoram was the king, and they made a siege of the town of Shomron, and the people were near death. And what had happened was that they had lepers that were outside the gates, and they, unlike Goyim, they were quarantined, and they saw that all the Goyim, the generals, Assyrians, had left. They fled, and they went back and they told Jehoram, they don't believe you. How could they flee? And they went out and they saw that they fled, and the prices of food dropped tremendously, considerably, and which was predicted by the prophet Isaiah, right? I think prophet Isaiah. Right, those are two incidences of Caesars that the Jewish people were afflicted with. So here we are. We gotta work. You gotta get the books, and you gotta work. Spend 10 minutes a day. Read my book.